Hi all. So today we are going to study about managing green ITs and smart cities. So managing green ITs here in the sense we are going to make use of IT for the green. Now here the green term in the context means that any activity or any operations that we are taking to save the environment for the betterment of the environment will be called as green activities or green activities which is done by IT is known as green ITs. Then what is the need of smart city? What is smart city? What is the outcome of it, and is there any live example, then what is the procedure and all. So everything we are going to cover in detail with the help of some headings and subtopics. So that's how we have categorized it. Okay, now first the introduction, that is the green imperative. So here imperative is not a big word, it means importance, that's it. So the importance of green, that is the activities which help the environment. What is the importance of such activities? Why do we give priority to them? Okay, so you see there is a growing need to control carbon emission and including while using IT. So first, in the single statement only we are going to cover n number of topics. So first, why we are talking about carbon here? So our all the focus is on greenhouse gases. So what is greenhouse gases? So if you see, sun rays are coming to earth. Okay, now the types of sun rays might be like UV rays, infrared rays, and there are too many other rays. Okay, now out of the 100% that is reflecting or that is coming to earth, 30% is reflected back. Why it is reflected back? It is reflected back due to ice, due to cloud, and due to various other reasons. Okay, so all the earth surface which reflects back, that is the 30% of what is sent to the earth. Okay, now coming to remaining 70%. So this 70% of rays, right, it is remained on the earth surface. Now it is remaining, why? Because water absorbs it and it turns into water vapors. Similarly, there are some gases like carbon dioxide, methane, and all these gases called greenhouse gases. So these gases absorb those rays. So when these gases absorb those rays, or the overall thing, that is the heat that is absorbed by the water or the greenhouse gases, what happens is it leads to the increase in the temperature of the earth. So on an average it increases the temperature by 15 degrees. Okay, so that's what the stats says. Okay, now we are focusing only on carbon because greenhouse gases, which contains various gases, most of the percentage of greenhouse gases because of carbon dioxide. Because if we say, let's say human lives 60 years or 80 years, similarly the lifetime of carbon dioxide is much more than compared to other greenhouse gases. So that's why we also focus on carbon dioxide in specific when we are talking about greenhouse gas. I hope now what you know what is greenhouse gases. It is simply the gases which retains the UV rays or the sun rays, and which we resulting into the increase in the temperature. So here we are focusing on the need to control carbon emission, because if the carbon emission is reduced, the carbon dioxide within the earth will be reduced, and so the amount of the rate or the rate at which the temperature is increasing will be controlled. Now including while using ITA as well. So this means then we are using IT means we are focusing on hardware, we are focusing on software. So for every algorithm, for even when I'm recording, there is some energy consumption is happening, right? And for the recording purpose I'm using some let's say mic or let's say video recorder. So for building everything, there is either a hardware goes into that, there is either a software or CPU usage, or either the motherboard usage. All these operations are going into happening. Okay, so for making of them, okay, so for the operation of them, now after its useful life cycle is going to be over, we are going to send it for the recycling or going to sell it. So even the disposal of that, so everything has something to do with the carbon dioxide, right? So we are going to see some of the practices with the help of which in the IT itself we are going to reduce the carbon dioxide emission, and we are going to use the IT for building of smart cities and various other purposes which will be useful for the green imperatives. Okay, so if you didn't understand, let's say while making of any IT we are going to reduce the carbon emission, while using of IT we are going to reduce the carbon emission, while disposing it off we are going to use the practices which is going to reduce the carbon emission. Okay, and again we are going to build the smart cities in which we are going to have the green practices which are going to be monitored, controlled, and with the help of IT we are going to reduce the carbon emission in the smart cities as well. Okay, so that we are going to see within a moment. So here basically we are touching the surfaces in the introduction part. So many firms have taken steps to understand the energy consumption with regards to the IT usage and have implemented steps to go green. Okay, so if you have seen there, we are focusing on energy consumption pattern. So we are going to come across a topic called carbon footprint. There we are going to study about this. Okay, so just wait for a moment. Now next, greenhouse gases and global warming. Right, so greenhouse gases such as carbon dioxide, methane absorb these rates, trapping heat, increasing temperature. Industrial activity, which are the most of the, I can say, one of the reasons which is emitting the greenhouse gases, which are indirectly causing the global warming. So the thing that we talk, that average of 15 degrees of temperature is getting increased because of the retention or absorption of the this sun rays or UV rays, infrared rays by the greenhouse gases, which is causing the temperature to increase, are severely causing the environment problems. Okay, so if you know, if the temperature is rising, right, so the ocean levels will rise because the ice will melt. Okay, and there it will indirectly affect the humans and I can say other species as well. So there is the huge effect, negative effect of the temperature increase. Okay, so here we are talking about greenhouse gases. Again, this we have touched in the introduction part as well. Now coming to carbon footprint. So if you have seen, many firms have taken steps to understand their energy consumption pattern. So here basically the firms are trying to understand how much carbon are they emitting. Okay, so here basically they are measuring the carbon emission that they are doing, because once they measure it, then they will see where to optimize, where to stop emission, how we can improve the pattern and all. Okay, because based on the measurement and the techniques that we are using, again we are going to measure and we are going to see whether the carbon emission increased or carbon emission decreased. Because if the measurement is not there, whatever you do, how will you come to a conclusion whether it benefited or not? Okay, so carbon footprint is nothing but measurement by evaluating the impact of complete set of activities and components deployed. Okay, if you didn't get the statements, well and good, not an issue. Okay, just to focus on this. So carbon footprint is nothing but the measurement of carbon dioxide in kgs per year. So it's like when we talk about let's say a company X, so its carbon footprint is 10 kgs is what I am saying. It will not be in such a small unit, it will be in tons. But when I am saying 10 kgs, it means I am talking about carbon emitted by the firm in terms of kg in 1 year. Okay, so that's how we measure. It's not in month or okay, right. So it says that a computer is calculated by assessing energy requirement, energy required. Okay, so here we are taking an example. Okay, let's say the computer that I am using for the recording purpose, that computer's carbon footprint. Okay, till now we have seen how we measure the carbon footprint of an organization. Now we are going to take an example, that is a computer. So carbon footprint of computer is, let's say, 1 kg. So how I am saying 1 kg? So when I am saying 1 kg, the carbon footprints of all the components that is included in the computer, like if a computer has a motherboard, okay, or if a computer has a CPU, let's say, so the making of CPU, because let's say different parts of the computer are made in different parts of the globe. Okay, now all are been brought to one assembling unit. From there one part is made, from there it will go to some other assembling unit where a big part will be made, from there it will go to some other unit and where the computer is made. So all the transportation thing, all the making of things, all the assembling things, and finally when the selling, when it is going to the consumer's hand, so that then the transportation, and then when the consumer is using it, when he is hitting each and every button on the keyboard, there is some operation happening. When you are watching movie, when you are watching video, there is a hard disk rotating continuously to give you the required data on your screen. So for every usage there is some operation happening which is consuming energy, and after you are done with the usage of a computer, you go for the disposal thing, that is either you sell, then it will be taken care, like what to do, whether to like recycle it, or whether to use the same parts for the different device or whatever we do. Okay, so then if it is disposed, then some amount of energy is required, and when the disposing there will be some emission of gases. So all these things for a particular device is considered when we are saying that for a device this is what a carbon footprint is. I hope that is making complete sense. Okay, yeah. So that was a carbon footprint for a computer, that is for a product and for the organization. Now what is green IT? As we have studied in the introduction part itself, that it refers to the efficient and green use of IT. So here we are focusing on making use of IT for the betterment of the environment, okay, and relying on IT for ensuring green practices. For the firms, there are two aspects of IT practices. So here one use of IT is to efficiently comply with green norms, and other is to conform to green norms. Okay, so ensure others. So here we monitor whether our organization is complying with the green norms. So here complying means, let's say that there is a company in Bangalore, okay, and the rules according to the Bangalore is that any MNC cannot release more than 5 kgs of CO2. Okay, and then over an year if we see that organization is emitting only 4 kg of carbon dioxide, so it means we are saying that that IT company is following the rules and regulations of that location. So that was just an example to tell what is the complying means. Okay, now similarly, when we are using some IT to monitor our organization, we also use the same thing for measuring the neighbor MNCs or the competitors MNCs, or like in terms of society service, we try to give the same IT to some colony or some other organization to watch over their emissions. So that's how it is also used to monitor whether the other organization or the nearby colonies are also following the norms or not. Okay, now that was an overview. What is happening inside it, that we are going to cover in today's session itself. I hope so far all things are clear. Okay, next we have green practices in hardware and manufacture. So here we see that IT hardware goes through same kind of design, manufacturing and disposal as many other products. So even if you talk about a small, I can say a small book, a small diary, or let's say even ice cream goes to some process of designing and then filling of cream. So even the hardware goes to same kind of process for designing, manufacturing and disposal. Now the green practices in hardware manufacturing requires control of all aspects. So let's say the first step is the prototyping. Okay, this is how the hardware is going to look like. So choosing the design in such a way that it is occupying less space, the weight is less, the material used is also environment friendly, and if the material is going to be disposed, the amount of energy required to dispose. So all these things which is like as much favorable to environment as possible. So in that way the designing is done. When considering the transport in terms of green activity, we try to see that we are using a vehicle which is consuming the least amount of fuel for transportation. Okay, and if you are talking about salesman problem, there we see that if suppose the transport has to deliver 10 pizzas to 10 different locations, then we have to choose the optimum route so that we consume the minimum possible fuel and minimum possible time, so as to reduce the pollution and try to serve the process, serve the purpose, that is giving the pizzas to all the required people. So that's how transport, and finally the assembling of all components. So every process, every operation that is going into picture for the manufacturing of any product or delivering any product to the end user, all the operations needs to be selected in such a way that it helps the environment, or it helps in minimizing the pollution that is happening because of that product. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So that's what green practices in hardware design says. So let's say here as a computer manufacturer, I am the computer manufacturer and I want to buy parts from different vendors. So I will choose a vendor who chose the material which is environment friendly, okay, and who can deliver it to me using a green ID. Okay, so that's how I'm also making, or I'm also encouraging the others to follow the green ID, as we have the example of Tesla. Because of his way of saving the environment and using electrical cars, even the other organizations who never considered it as a competition, now it has become the priority for all of them because of its usage, because of its advantage. Because even when you are trying to save the nature, your reputation is getting improved. Even people will give priority to your component. Even if the price is a bit more, people will give priority to you because you have a proper conscience for the environment. So it means the product that you have delivered is also very quality. So that's how your reputation is also getting affected. Next we have green practices in software design. Okay, so here again I am not going to touch on the facts that I have covered in the hardware, that is the designing, transport and all. But here when talking about the software, the manufacturer focus on two states, that is active and idle. So basically I have a mic, let's say. So this mic is based upon some software. When I'm using the software, it is in active state. When I'm not using that software, it is in idle state. So based on these states, all the design and all is based upon. Okay, so let's take a very good example. So here if you can see, reading and writing data from secondary storage consumes a lot of energy. So here reading and writing means when you are reading something or when you are writing something on the secondary storage, that is nothing but your my computer, D drives, H drives. Okay, those are nothing but your secondary storage. Even USBs, CDs and all are your secondary storage. So here we are taking an example. Okay, now when you are reading or writing, it will be in active state, so it is going to consume some amount of energy. And when you are not reading or writing, or you are not copying, you are not cutting or pasting anything on the hard drive, at that time we say that it is in idle state. So here we need to see that the power consumed when it is an idle state is nearly to zero, and when it is trying to read or write something on the hard disk, we make best use of that duration. Okay, so that if suppose you are for reading purpose you are using one algorithm, if you use a second algorithm, the same reading can be done in the less number of steps or in the less time. So that's how we choose the algorithm, and we try to make best use of that active state. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So that is called a data efficiency. Next we have context aware design. Many hardware are designed to be context aware and adjust their power accordingly. Okay, so here let's say when our let's say when we keep our mobile on auto brightness, what happens, it will adjust its brightness according to the environment. Okay, so that's what context aware design means. So making the device to respond according to the environment. Okay, that's what it means. So let's say when I plug my laptop on charging, it will give me one kind of charger, that is it will not be in the battery saving mode. When I switch off my charger when it is 100%, then at that time I can see that the laptop will sense that it is not in charging mode now, so it should go in okay, it will check its battery percentage. Now it is 100, so fine, 80 fine, 50 fine, reaching to 30% it will go in the battery saver mode. So that is an example that device is responding according to its environment. Okay, right. And one of the important point that I forgot is in data efficiency is when you are in active state, okay, and when you are in idle state, the active state will consume energy the max, but it is not true. The maximum energy is consumed when the state is getting changed, that is from idle to active. When the state is getting changed, right, at that point of time the maximum energy is consumed. Even when you compare it to the energy consumed when the device is in active state, we see the more energy is consumed when there is a change in state. Okay, so this part even if you are not getting, that is fine. Okay, so here what we see is, suppose this example I am taking from my book. So let's say you want to see a video of 100 units. Okay, now at a time your system will allow only 10 units of, okay, let me take in minutes itself, it will be easy for understanding. Let's say I am watching a movie whose duration is 100 minutes. Okay, and my computer will allow me to bring 10 minutes of data at a time. So in this case what will happen, after every 10 minutes my what I can say, my disk which is going to read the data and going to give me that is going to bring 10 minutes of data, and then it is going to wait for the 10 minutes to get over, then it will go and read 10 minutes of data. So here if it goes and brings 10 minutes of data every time, here I can see that the change from idle to active state is happening 10 times. So here I can choose an algorithm where I am using a buffer. So in buffer what I can do is I will bring 20 units of data or 20 minutes of data, though my computer is allowing only 10 minutes. So in here what am happening is I'll keep the 10 units of data with computer and 10 minutes of data in my buffer, or I can say cache. So here as soon as the computer is done with showing of 10 minutes of data, it will bring the next 10 minutes of data from the cache, or I can say from the buffer. So here overall if I see, the hardware that is going to read and fetch the data from the secondary disk has to change its state only 5 times, because now it is fetching 20 minutes of data to show me 100 minutes of movie. Okay, I hope that makes sense. No, so these two are the examples that we consider for the software design using the green practices. Okay, right. Next we have green practice in use. So this is just an example of what all things we use for the betterment or the reduce the power consumption when our software is in active mode. Okay, so one thing is unplugging of charging when not required, reducing the brightness or switching off the monitor when not needed, underclock overclock processor, that is when required give the maximum capacity to the processor, and when not required just stop it. Okay, so that's how we are avoiding the continuous state of being inactive. Next is the defragmentation. So if you are from computer background, this will be very easy for you, otherwise let me tell this in a layman's term. So defragmentation means when you are suppose you have 10 notepads and you try to save it in your disk. Okay, so it will be stored in different places. Okay, now when you have a big movie and you are saving it, so this time first 5 minutes will be stored at some place wherever it finds free space, next 10 minutes it will store in the next free space. So that's how it is fragmented and stored at different part of your secondary disk. But when I do the defragmentation, I say okay disk, I am not going to touch you now, just try to defragment all your data. So telling the disk to defragment means that initially I have stored 5 minutes of data at different places because the free space was not available continuously. Now you try to gather all the data related to one file at one place. So now it is going to get all the 5 minutes and going to place it at one place by moving or shifting the data that is existing on the disk as of now. So that's how when I will watch the movie, it does not need to search across the disk where the next 5 minutes is, where the next 5 minutes is. So here I am reducing the power consumption that is required to watch the movie. Okay, so even if you didn't get the example, that is fine, because I don't expect that all of you will understand the defragmentation in the first go. Okay, yeah. Next, IT for green practices. So talking about IT for green practices, as we have seen previously, the carbon footprinting, where we finally see, okay, this much is what we emitted or this much is what we have reduced compared to previous years. So the practices that we are starting as of now, or any organization is starting for a step towards a green practices, it increase the cost initially, because the new things when you are trying to introduce, there will be things like training or getting adapted, there will be new devices coming into picture. So all these things will try to increase the cost of operations. So in that case, monitoring will help them to, of course it is self-explanatory. Okay, so once you monitor, you see what are the unnecessary things that is happening, and based on that you try to reduce them. Okay, and then we have laws and regulations around the organization. So one of the law that I said, there will be rules that if this is the nature of the industry, then this is the emission that is allowed for that, and this is the 10 kg or 15 kg or 10 tons or 15 tons is what allowed for some organization, based on whether it is a manufacturing, whether it is a MNC, or whether it is a small scale industry. Okay, so similarly for the state level government of the or the central government to know about what is happening, it is again a law, and I can say laws and regulations, where it is mandatory for every organization to produce a report on how much they have consumed over energy, water, and the whatever that has something to do with the environment. They have to create a report on that and they have to submit it. Okay, so that is again one of the law. And next we see that even the cost is increasing, because your focus is to save the nature, your reputation and image is again going to be affected, not only because you are introducing something new, but also because you are trying to help the environment. Okay, for sustaining and in the interest to monitor and show their effort. So even if it is not working fine, just because you show the people that okay, you have interested and you are working your best to save the nature, so even this efforts is going to affect the reputation. So example, we have this US volunteer program which is called as Energy Star. So based on the product, right, it is going to calculate carbon emission and everything, and then based on that it is going to give star, and people believe that volunteer organization, or I can say an NGO. So based on this, people say okay, this is going to produce less harm to the nature, so we are going to use this. So that's how they believe in the organization, and also this organization with the proper no illegal activity, they try to rate the product. Okay, next we have monitoring chain value activities. So by heading itself, I hope you are getting that in suppose a manufacturing company, okay, so there will be a certain group of functions which are categorized based on inbound, production, outbound, sales, marketing, maintenance. So in all these categories, how we are using the green IT practices. Okay, so let's take an example and we'll try to understand. Okay, so when we are talking about inbound logistics, so inbound means getting something into the company. Like if I'm manufacturing a computer, okay, so all the raw materials that is required for manufacturing, I'm getting them from somewhere else, correct? So I'm getting them from somewhere else means I'm inbounding, means getting the raw materials or the required metals, that is the required logistics inside the company. So that is called as inbound. When I'm sending out the final output, I call them as outbound. Okay, and when this raw materials is converted to final products with the help of assembly line or any other production unit, so those will come under productions. Now finally, after bringing out the materials, we go for sales and marketing, and after that we provide maintenance and support to the customer as well as to the organization as well. Okay, so these were the departments. Now we'll see what happens in the inbound. So in the inbound, you can see that when we used to select vendors for seeing like from which vendor should I get the material. So this selection will be based upon what kind of materials are they using, what kind of transport facilities are they using. So we focus on choosing the vendor, selection of the type of supplier, or I can say the transport, and then how the vendor is using the IT for showing his interest towards the nature. Okay, how he is monitoring his emissions, what is the practice that they are using for their small parts, because based on that even I can if I am selecting the vendor who is giving his efforts to save the nature, even the other vendors will also try to follow the green practices. So here I am encouraging the green practices by choosing the vendors who is following the green practices. I hope I am repeating green practices, but the sentence is making sense. Okay, so here my focus is on what kind of material, what kind of design, what kind of transport the vendor is choosing, and what kind of material does that component have. Like when I'm done with the usage of that material, can I do the recycling, and if I'm doing the recycling, what is the amount of carbon again getting emitted. So all kind of factors I will take into consideration, and then I will choose the vendor. Next, in the production, I am see whether the operations are getting monitored and what is the amount of consumption of the water, or what is the pollution that is happening. Okay, and there is something called closed loop manufacturing. So closed loop manufacturing means I am producing something, and the waste or the materials that is coming out, I am going to recycle them again. I am going to make them again in use for the manufacturing purpose. So all this concept will come under production. Next, we have outbound logistics. So here again I have to sell it to the end user or the next intermediary. So I'm going to choose a proper transportation, which is like, okay, again talking about the fuel, least energy, least fuel usage, and then during the transportation the amount of wastage or the spillage that is happening, that should be reduced. So the proper transportation needs to be taken care. And if I'm selling it to the end user, the kind of packaging, the kind of wrappers that I'm using, what is the amount of plastic that I'm using. So all these things will come into picture when we are talking about outbound, that is sending the final goods to the consumer or the next intermediate. Okay, next coming to sales and marketing. So here the marketing, what does it mean? It means pitching your idea or getting the product to the correct people, and also convincing them, telling about the advantages and what is the efforts of that product. Okay, so basically making the clients or the end users to buy your product. So here they aspire the customer by telling the green practices that is happened in the manufacturing of the product, and how, what is the effect when this go the recycling, and like is the parts replaceable if the device is getting like if the device is not working, should they need to replace the complete product or only the parts? If they replace, they can use it. What is the effect of the recycling? So all these things which are again the green practices which they pitch into their clients and end users. So these concepts will come under the green practices for sales and marketing. Next, coming to maintenance. So how they are going to support the end user who have bought the product from them, or how the organization is going to support themselves in terms of green practices, okay, in terms of recycling, recovering old goods, and all the maintenance things will come under the final department, or I can say final set of categories. So here in all the things, the common thing that we can see is they are continuously monitoring, and they are seeing what unnecessary things can be removed, what efficient things can be removed. So overall their focus is to minimize the carbon emissions, or I can say greenhouse gases. So this is our final topic, that is smart cities. So let's understand what is smart city in a one liner, then we'll see what is the need of smart city in the historical origin, and then we are going to study about the facilities of a smart cities. Okay, so once we study the facilities, we are good, we are done with today's video. Okay, so before studying about smart cities, you need to know what is ICT. So ICT infrastructure means the information and communication technology. Okay, that's it. Okay, using of these technology to make the smart city is nothing but ICT in smart cities. That's it. Okay, now what is smart city? So here we simply say that people living, of course living people will help each other so that they could simplify their daily work, and the whole intention behind the smart city is to monitor everything and reduce the wastage done on the natural resources like water, electricity, fossil fuels, okay, pollution, air pollution, water pollution, noise pollution, okay, and reducing the usage of resources if it is not required. So we'll see all those things, and that will be happening in the cities with the help of information technology, or I can say ICT infrastructure. That's why we call that city as smart city. So even though you didn't get anything so far, that's fine, because in the coming subcategories we are going to see the examples. Okay, next we see the historical origin. So why we need to focus on the smart cities? So if you see in my book which I am referring, there's the statistics example which says that in the USA, right, 35% of the like I can say 35% of the overall population was living in cities, and within some years there was too much migration happened from rural areas to urban areas, for the search of jobs, for the search of, or for the better education, and for the better I can say the services are like hospitalization, those kind of, for those kind of services there was too much migration. And that's basic sense, like of course people will migrate for those reasons. And then we see that because of these increased or the doubling of the population in the urban cities, the resources got depleted and there was congestion all around. There were issues like traffic problems, okay, sewage problems, electricity, I can say the consumption increased, so the depletion of the resources, all those things were happening. Okay, and when the traffic is increasing means what, that vehicle usage was increased, so petroleum, fossil fuel got increased, the carbon emission got increased, there was too much pollution contribution because of this. So all this lead to the direct impact on the nature, which lead to the increase in temperature. That's why the focus shifted on saving or reducing the carbon emission, or I'll say the greenhouse gases. Okay, now facilities of smart cities. So if we are going to study all the facilities, the common thing about all the facilities is monitoring. Okay, so sensing and monitoring. So what does this say? That if we are talking about, let's say, the carbon emission in any specific building, okay, so we are going to see the emission done by the air condition, the emission done by the temperature control, the emission done by various facilities like I can say the canteen servicing or the first aid servicing. Okay, so basically we are perceiving and recording various parameter of city environment, because here the statement is not with respect to a particular building. When we are talking about smart cities, the statement that we are going to see is about the cities, not a particular building. Okay, so this is done by electronic sensors, that is they are continuously sensing what is happening. So if you don't know about sensors, it is simply, you can say, a simple chip. Okay, so this is for people who are not who don't know what is sensor. So it basically sense the environment. Like if you put a sensor on your water tank, it will when the water level rises and touches the sensor, so you will get a signal, okay, that water level had reached this point, I should switch off my water pump. So that's how that was an example of sensor. Yeah, okay, so these sensors are distributed across city and provides data to connected networks that store and process information. So if you didn't get this statement, let me take an example. So nowadays how the Google Maps are working, because people are using their OS, let's say Android, and when there is a movement of people, there is a movement of mobile. So with the help of which the satellite, or I can say the Google's infrastructure, is getting to know about where the density of people is more. So that's how they are getting the data, and it has been reflected to other people mobile. So here what is happening, there is a sensor here, in case the sensor is our GPS, so it is seeing what all things are happening and where the people are moving, where the density is more, and based on the measurement that it reached this much amount threshold, so the traffic color will be shown as red. If it is empty, it will be shown as green. So that was an example. Okay, so the whole thing here is the sensing and measuring and taking action regarding it. Next is the smart transportation. So many cities have implemented ICT. Now we have studied what is ICT for the management of traffic, like diversion of traffic. So this example I took in the sensing and measuring, but yeah, the same thing, smart transportation is one more facilities that is provided by the smart cities. Okay, so here let's suppose I'm going to start in a moment now. So I'll see there's in 2 minutes what is the traffic that is going to happen in a specific lane if I go. So here my time consumption, or the time to reach my destination, is 20 minutes. So is there any other alternatives? If yes, what is the traffic is there, and if I choose that, what is the time consumption? So based on that I'm choosing decision, and I'm taking the direction. So overall in the city the traffic management is happening. Okay, this is not the only way, this is one way of the smart transportation. Okay, next we have smart environment. So here environment challenge of modern cities is conserving resources. So all about water conservation, pollution control, water management. So some of the rules that a smart city says, that when you're building any colony, or when you're building any simple mall or building, okay, a standalone apartments, the necessity things is you need to include the water harvesting. Okay, so and that resource should be there. And in terms of pollution control, you need to make sure that there is a restriction on the resources. And if you are using the electricity for the pollution control, or I can say for the conservation of the natural resources, you need to go with the solar panels. Okay, now there is a concept called grid, I can say smart grid, so that we are going to cover in a moment. But here for here the focus is to use the smart ICT to save the environment. So solar panels, or I can say PVC cells, that is photovoltaic cells, for the usage of solar energy for the electricity generation, and how we are using the generator, and how we are dependent on this central government for providing electricity, what is the water consumption that we are doing, and what is the wastage that is happening. Is there a possibility that we are going to use the wastewater again and again? So that's how we are trying to reduce the water. So we know water conservation, but here we are trying to use the ICT infrastructure to do the water conservation. That's why we call it as a smart environment. So coming to pollution control, I can choose my fridges, washing machines, and other gadgets based on the Energy Star, or I can say star rating, or I can choose a vehicle which is based on electricity instead of fossil fuels. So that's how the pollution control is happening. And then water management, here if you can see the currently if the check we need to do where the leakage is happening, where the rust is happening, that is very difficult. So in smart cities what happens, they put sensor which senses the, I can say, pressure in the pipe. So based on this we can see where the leakage is happening, there the pressure can be reduced, meanwhile the repairing is happening, and if there is any requirement by any colony, so there the pressure can be increased. So here basically we are doing the water management by conserving energy, because only when there is a huge demand we increase the pressure, and when the demand is not there we reduce the pressure. Okay, so that's how we are using the sensor to measure the pressure and to increase or decrease, that is based on the requirement. Okay, so that was one example. We can have thousands of other examples. Okay, now smart buildings. So here we are using sensor to collect data on heating, lighting, ventilation, personal movement, parking, occupation within the building. So I hope these things are very much self-explanatory. So they are using all these facilities within the building. So instead of taking the vehicle, they will see taking the vehicle inside the building, they will see whether the parking is available or not. So here they are reducing the unnecessary using of fuel, and they are reducing the like unnecessary efforts and time. And okay, so that was just one example. Then we see, then when people are moving in the building, then the light will sense that okay, there are people, so the lights should be turned on, and when people are not there it will be switched off. So that is lighting, ventilation, and personal movement. So we are going to see a personal movement example that is very good for smart city, which is okay, that we are going to see in the smart living, no problem. So okay, so then we are talking about solar. So that is PVC cells across the organization, and this wind energy cannot be constrained to a building, because this is like a big place is required for it, and we need to say that the geography also supports the wind energy, like current generation from the wind energy. Okay, so all this ICT infrastructure which could be used as a facilitator of the building is known as smart buildings. Now coming to smart living, so here let's take two examples. One example is like you are buying something from the Flipkart, after that you are rating it. So basically you are giving feedback of the product that you consume, so that other people can get to know about what is happening. Is this the real product, is this a fake, what is the kind of material that is used, and whether the things, the information that the manufacturer has provided, whether it is correct or not. So basically here we are trying to help each other with the help of ratings. So that was an example. Similarly, the ratings at I can say restaurants or movie theaters or movies, or when you go to some specific place you rate the place as well. So that's how we are doing the peer to peer communities. Okay, so if you are moving any at any specific lane, there the traffic is increased. Now the people get to know that the traffic is increased because you are at present at that place, and because of your GPS we are getting to know. So that was another example. So smart living is nothing but living with the help of ICT infrastructure and using the ICT infrastructure to help the other peers. Okay, so that was all about this. We'll take one more example. So we have this site called OpenStreetMap. So people register themselves, they volunteer themselves, and they make sure they ride across the streets, across the buildings, or across the society or states. And when they are moving, a map is generated, a virtual map is generated. Okay, there is one lane which is walkable for humans, and there is this open lane, this is the lane which was used to run previously, now the gates are closed. So that's how based on the movements a map is generated, and based on that people can choose what is the lane, what is the traffic. So this was just another example. Okay, now if we see in Bangalore, we have surveillance cameras across the city, and based on those cameras the data is collected at a central database, and from there they send signal to the traffic. It's not like a time based, okay, 30 seconds you need to do this, 30 seconds this lane should be solved. So all this is automated based on the amount of traffic that is coming, or that is present, or that is going to happen. Okay, so that's how we call that as a smart living. Next is smart governance. So here again governance we know. Okay, and smart is nothing but helping the functionality of the government with the help of smart, that is again the ICT. So here we have taken an example of this traffic signal maintenance, where they are getting the data from different surveillance camera, that is a decentralized resources. Okay, so ideas is data info is required for governance, and decision making is obtained from the distributed and decentralized resources, enhanced by smart governance technologies and infrastructure. So here in my book there is one more example which is about the Japan. So let me take that, and then for sure you will be able to understand. But before that, let's take, like recently we had the budget planning, right, which is the allocation of amount to different functionalities or plans throughout the next financial year. So what happens in that is, with the help of government services that they are providing, we can continuously monitor how much each functionality or each service is getting the money allocation, like for farmers how much it is allocated, for the defense how much it is allocated. So here, instead of taking the decision by themselves, if government is asking opinions for us, okay, and then they are seeking approvals from us, so here they are not only, like, if they want to get some opinions, instead of doing surveys which have the wide scope of frauds and there are too much cost involved in it, if they use this ITC infrastructure, they are easily able to contact this much huge population, and they are able to make smart decision, because even the people are involved in the decision and they have their approvals and comments and feedbacks on the improvement or the suggestions, right? So that's how the government is doing the smart governance. So for example, in Japan, there was one town where it was hit by the huge tsunami followed by the earthquake. So the complete city got destroyed. So after that, government decided to recreate the city in such a manner that in future, in case of any natural, I can say, disasters, it should not affect the city. So they tried to come up with a design, and they virtualized the design to seek the approvals from the people going to live in that city, so even the suggestions or the improvement can come from the people side. So this virtualized or I can say the blueprint or POC of how the city is going to look like, made the people to see what is going to happen, and their suggestions, okay, this should not be in this manner, this should not be in this manner. So that's how the discussion between the government and the people happened, and finally, based on the approvals of all the peoples and the government, they come to a situation, so they come to an agreement where, like, they are going to build a mountain kind of things where near the oceans or seaside, so that the water should not hit the city, and even if they hit the city, the residents are built a bit above the mountain area, so that they don't get affected by the earthquakes or the tsunami kind of thing. So that's how the government has engaged, using the ICT infrastructure, engage the audience or the population to come to a conclusion. So that is called a smart governance. So all these are similar, I can say, features or characteristics of something called as smart cities. Now I hope you got too many points and understanding. So yeah, now management issues and challenging for managers. I don't think this topic needs an explanation, because this we have covered in the previous chapter, where we are talking about the challenges faced by the managers in terms of specific organization. Now the same challenges will happen here, but in terms of smart cities. Let's take an example of this smart governance only. Okay, so what is the data that needs to be shown to the public? What is the data of defense that needs to be shown in a public, so that there should be no chaos or there should not be leakage of unnecessary data? So that is privacy. When talking about the surveillance, they have to consider the cost involved in it, they have to see the places available for that, and when they put the surveillance, how the maintenance need to be happened. Okay, people should not damage the property. So all the surveillance and challenges will come in here. Similarly, data infrastructure, again we have taken this example in the traffic, where they are getting the data, the government is getting data from the, I can say, from different surveillance cameras, and based on that they are taking decisions. So that was one example in case of government. Similarly, we have huge, like we have data centers for different, like for geo towers, we need to have placed different towers at different places, so the cost involved in it, the surrounding that is getting affected because of that we call as a call it as a social cost, if you have seen in the previous sessions. Okay, so here we simply talks about challenges that we come across while integrating or developing any new facilities in terms of green IT practices or smart cities. I hope these concepts are clear so far, and if you have any queries with respect to this, please write down in the comment sections. And apart from queries, if you have any suggestions, even those are appreciated as well. And if you liked my explanation, please do share and click on subscribe button, click on notification button, and share it to as many people as possible. So yeah, that's it for today. Thank you.